Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And I am Jake. And this is not my show, it's Hugo's show.
This is Ask Hugo, a number, I don't know, it's on the screen. You see it?
There it is.
There's a number. Unless you're blind. If you're blind and watching this, I'm glad you can't see it. Anyways, today we're going to be answering some more of your questions that you asked in the comments last time.
That's the show.
So let's do that.
Nick Snort asked Hugo.
Snort.
Nick Snort.
Good name.
Yeah, and it looks like a lady in a Riddler cosplay. So good for her. Or him. It could be a dude. It looks like a lady, though. My SSA group just participated in Ask an Atheist Day, so this was a while back. So I am going to ask one of the questions that I was asked. Without a god, what do you see as the purpose of mankind? You can speak for your individual purpose as well.
I like this question, and this is always an interesting question to get from theists.
Yep.
Because it gives you insight into the mind of the person that's asking the question, and it helps you understand why religion is so appealing to people in the first place. I've been there, obviously. I used to be a Christian. As human beings, for whatever reason, it was beneficial to our survival for us to have parts of our brain that wanted to find purpose. I think it's probably because we're good at pattern recognition, so to us everything needs to have a purpose, a pattern, a reason. Because our brains are wired in such a way that they recognize patterns, they say, well, why shouldn't life have a pattern and a reason and whatever? It's incorrect, but that's how our brains work. So we're always searching for a reason to be here, other than just, that's how life is, it propagates. And that's, I think, a part of us that we all have. And I think when Christians specifically talk about having a hole in your heart that Jesus fills, right, I think this is what they're talking about, whether or not they realize it. It's that desire as a human to want to know why we're here, because we have a desire to want to know that. Yeah. But the thing is, just because your brain can formulate a question doesn't mean it's a logical question to ask. And I think asking why are human beings here is like asking, what color is wind? There isn't really an answer. You formulated a question that doesn't make sense. I think that the purpose of your life is whatever you make it out to be, because you live your life for a short period of time and then you die, and you have to decide what to do with that. You can do good or evil, whatever. You can do something to help people, you can do something to help yourselves, but at the end of the day, that comes down to you. And finding that purpose, I think, is more important than the purpose itself. But I think it's about trying to find a place where you're comfortable with who you are in the universe, which is very insignificant, but still enjoying that and enjoying your temporal existence while it lasts.
Jessica Lutz asked Hugo, I'm definitely, last one I was a little wishy-washy, definitely going with female this time. Or at least a lady.
Almost certainly. I don't know what's in the undercarriage, but the face looks female.
Ultra dear Hugo.
The face is nice enough where I'm okay with whatever the undercarriage is.
Ultra dear Hugo, an ultra one, which is more. It's more. If you had to come back to life as a puppy when you die, which puppy would it be?
What kind of puppy? I don't want to be a puppy. Puppies have terrible lives.
What? Puppies live arguably the best life.
No, man.
They just get loved every day and fed for no reason.
Some of them. Not all of them.
Well, I mean,
Puppy Mills and
any puppy,
Pet Smarts.
Any puppy that you were, let's assume maybe you're my puppy.
Then I get locked in a small room if I'm an indoor dog. Or I have to be outside all the time if I'm an outdoor dog.
Why can't you be both? I grew up with dogs my whole life, and they were both. And they lived happy lives.
I'll have to poop outside, and I'll never feel clean.
You lick it.
I don't want to lick my own butthole.
What kind of puppy would you be? What breed?
If I have to pick?
Yeah.
Whatever droopy dog was.
Whoa. I'm a droopy dog. That's close.
It's close enough.
Tobias Winters. I think you have to say it like that. And he has a photo of Nietzsche. So I assume he wants me to say, Tobias Winters, dear Hugo, from what I can tell, atheists, and particularly anti-theists, of the kind that take a bolder, more open stance against religion, seem to be a largely American phenomenon. This makes me think that the atheist movement, so to speak, is a response to American fundamentalism. Does that seem like a possible explanation to you based on your own experiences? Also, do you think a world devoid of religion of any kind is in our future? Or a world with a different kind of religion from what we have now?
I think you're pretty much have it spot on as far as atheism in America. I think
Yeah.
it's more fervent, definitely, because the religious is way more fervent than most places in the world, or at least in Europe. I mean, they're not like going around cutting people's heads off. Like,
I'd say Western
but
world.
you know what I mean. Western world, oh yeah, the religious are in a lot of places of power, and they like to put their religious beliefs into the public sector, and that's why it becomes a problem, and I think that's why people are more prone to speak up against it. Now, this can also cause an issue where we have a lot of atheists who seem almost religious in their devotion to being anti-religious, and I've seen that. I hate when theists say that atheism is a religion, because it's not, but I've seen atheists behave the same way I see super religious people behave.
I agree.
If that makes sense.
I think, but that happens with all sorts of secular things. Like nationalism is the best example I could do, or sports team like affiliation.
Yeah, and I try and avoid that. I think we do an all right job.
I think we do. I think we do a pretty good job of being as even-handed as we can, given our non-religiosity.
Yeah, but I think you're right on the money on that one. And as far as the future, I think we're a long ways off from a world without religion. But I think the face of religion in this new information age is changing a lot.
Yeah.
It's becoming a much more vaguer, spiritual, let's call it, version of religions, like modern Christians who don't necessarily take the Bible literally and are more about maybe what Jesus was talking about, the general concepts of being loving and stuff, which is great. I mean, I think it's wrong. Not the actual concept. The fact that Jesus was divine, I think, is wrong.
Right.
But
I think if someone's going to apply it like that, that's totally
that's
fine.
fine. Whatever.
I don't care at all.
I don't particularly care if people are just wrong. It's how they apply what they believe to the real world. And if it's positive, sure, okay, I'd rather people be factually correct, but I mean, if they're not bothering other people, that's their business.
I'd rather someone was a good person and a Christian than a bad person and an atheist.
I agree. That being said, I think being non-religious and understanding that you could always be wrong and you should always continue to examine your beliefs, I think that can breed a really good sense of morality where you're always sort of analyzing your actions, whereas some people, not all, some people I've seen who are religious sort of go on autopilot and just go, well, the Bible says this, therefore my morality is rigid and I will do it to the letter, and that can lead to some bad things like the gay marriage issue.
Yeah, obviously.
So that's the answer. This one we've been trying to answer for like 2 months, and then, if you'll remember a while ago, I accidentally deleted an episode that we had recorded, and we finally got to his question, only to delete it. So, we're gonna answer it now for reals. For realsy reals.
Okay, so this was Brandon. I don't know what his screen name was, because you kind of cut it off with your screenshot, but he signed it Brandon, so that's good. So hopefully, Brandon, you're watching and you remember, because this is yours. Hi guys, I'm an atheist in a Catholic school which is also in the South, and I have a hard time explaining my beliefs to my classmates when they say not believing in God is stupid. You can't explain the universe. And when I do give valid evidence, they ignore it by saying God did it and saying God was always here, duh. Also, my family is very religious and constantly bring up religion in conversation and putting on Christian movies on the TV when I'm around. It's really hard to debate with them when they see me as a child who doesn't know what they're talking about. Please help.
This is hard. I'm probably not going to give you the advice you want, but maybe the advice you need. A lot of it's going to come down to you're probably going to have to sort of avoid these deep discussions when you're this young, because people, I'm sorry, they're not going to take you seriously. You could be the most right and have the best responses. Because of your age, people who are older than you and in places of authority are probably not going to take you seriously and assume everything you say is wrong.
To be fair, that's usually because every person you're talking to has been your age before, and they know how dumb we were when we were that. And I'm not saying you are dumb. I'm just saying when you look back 10 years from now, you go, "Oh man, that kid just did not know shit," and that's kind of why they dismiss it, even if you're correct.
Yeah, but if you are bringing it up, I mean, the best I can say to you is don't just try and retort with your talking points. Try and ask them questions and make them self-examine their own beliefs.
I've always found that questions are the best way to go about it.
And other than that, with your parents and stuff, they're your parents. As long as you depend upon them, try and be cool, man, because, I mean, I always give this advice to people who ask when they're this young. I'm not saying most parents are like this, but I've certainly heard stories of people being kicked out and stuff due to their atheism. I don't know how your parents are, but I've heard it happening.
I know this happens a lot in like more Protestant, Southern Baptists, but Southern Catholics or just Catholics in general can also be kind of shitty. I hope they're not. It seems like you have a good enough relationship with them to bring it up, but it seems like they're kind of doing it passive aggressively by just putting on Christian shit sometimes.
I would say is they might just enjoy that. It might not be directed at him at all. A thing you could do though is when those movies are on, if you're there and you're watching it, ask questions, ask genuine questions, and try and probe in a non-aggressive, non-confrontational way, but say, hey, why is this way? Why is this permissible? Why is this the way you think things are? Other than that, I mean, that's all I can really tell you. It's real rough, especially when you're younger, trying to discuss these things with people who are older than you. And those people do have more life experiences than you. That's a fact. So you might think some things you're saying are just trump cards, but they might have already heard them before and come up with a rationalization for it. Even if their rationalization is incorrect, they might think that they have an answer for it. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, because and it all comes down to your age, and that's shitty. It shouldn't matter, but it does. I think you might find that you have more success in this sort of thing on the internet, where you can be anonymous and stuff, if you weren't to say your age. I know that when I was younger, I got dismissed about a lot of shit, even though I was right about a lot of it. Like, when I was in school, George Bush was president, and I was against it, but a lot of people in my rural community were like, no, George Bush, really great president. I mean, hindsight 2020, but I was correct. Not the greatest dude. But, that said, I got, just expect dismissal. Don't be upset when it happens, because that's just it's part of the growing process, especially nowadays, where, I don't know, just people are more willing to take a stance, I think, because everyone has sort of a pedestal. Yeah.
Good luck, though. I'm sorry it took so long to answer your question. I hope it helps you a little bit.
Me too.
At least morale-wise.
I love you, Brandon. Livia Osborne asks Hugo, hey, Hugo. And Jake, if he feels like answering, no, Livia, no. What are your thoughts on the new Star Wars movie? Okay, yes. Watching the trailers are making me really excited, and I can't wait until it comes out. Smiley face.
That trailer was so good.
The first one?
Both of them.
Okay, let's talk about the first one separately, and then we'll talk about the second one.
Okay, the first trailer that came out a couple months ago, I saw it, and I thought, yeah, this feels like Star Wars. You didn't see a whole lot, but it did feel like Star Wars. You had the cloaked villain on the snowy planet. You see the lightsaber, cool lightsaber. People had arguments about the tri-beam lightsaber. I think it looks cool.
I think it's cool. And I saw a thing where it goes, first 3 trilogies, 1 lightsaber, second 3, you had the Darth Maul one, and then the third one, 3, because he's got like the little prong. I think it makes sense to have a hilt. I don't know why that hasn't happened before. You could slide down and cut an arm off.
Which happens all the time. Yeah. So. But I thought that was good. The second trailer came out.
Holy shit.
That second trailer is perfect. Yeah. In fairness, the prequel trilogy, their trailer was amazing as well. So I don't know what the actual movie's going to be like. But from watching that trailer and seeing the camera pan and you see the Star Destroyer and the X-Wing fighter crashed on... it's actually not Tatooine.
It's not. Is it Dantooine?
No, it's called Jakku or something like that. It's a new planet. Where some big battle happened, apparently, right after the events of Episode 6.
Makes sense.
So after that happened, there's a power vacuum. There's a huge, and now the whole planet is like a ship graveyard.
Yeah, it looks really cool. And I love that they've gone back to practical effects. I mean, you can see the BB-8 droid in the first trailer, and I think they do a little quick thing in the second one. And you just see, like, the makeup seems really good, and the guy that's the stormtrooper is, I don't know, it doesn't look like it was just
CG'd.
Yeah, and everything looks good. Like, even though the Star Destroyer is obviously CG'd, it just looks correct. It looks worn, and the landscape's good. The speeders look cool. Everything I saw looks like it's what if you took the vision that they had in the 70s and then transported it all the way to now, knowing everything we know about filmmaking and effects. It looks like it's back to where we want it to be. It's not the prequels. They're not just CGing the whole thing.
Plus, you see a lot of the classic bleeding over. You obviously have the voiceover from Luke Skywalker, which is actually a line taken directly from Episode 6, when he was talking to Leia in that movie and saying it's his sister. but they just ripped that out and put it here, and they expanded upon it, and he's talking to someone, maybe his kid or some new who's going to be a Jedi. We see the newer characters, the Stormtrooper guy, and some woman who's also going to be a main character. Don't know that much about her. And then, obviously, at the end, you have Harrison Ford and Chewbacca.
Awesome.
It's great. Looks so good. The Millennium Falcon, the tone just seems correct. It's an adventure movie. Hopefully we're not going to spend half of the movie talking about trade negotiations and laws and politics. Because I sat and I watched the Star Wars, all of them in a row, like 2 weeks ago.
I sat and watched them about 4 months ago.
Original 3, brilliant movies, great adventure movies. They're like a Western in space, but they also have aspects of, fantasy, obviously,
and
with
Harrison
the Force.
Ford is just amazing, and I think all the comedy works, and I think all the practical effects just made it perfect. Like the cantina scene, which you had mentioned you found the original one instead of having the remastered one.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah, totally.
Because they had all these awesome aliens just around, and you felt like, oh, look at this cool situation.
But then I watched the prequels, and man, George Lucas just lost it. I've also heard that his now ex-wife, it was his wife at the time of the original trilogy, she had a lot of input on the original trilogy as far as revising the scripts, and when the prequel trilogy came around, they weren't together, she didn't revise, he got too much say, and we got the prequel trilogy, and it's just so muddled, and it doesn't understand what made Star Wars good. Star Wars, at its heart, is super simplistic. It's good versus evil, and certainly people jumping sides, and the struggle with that, but it's simple. The fact that it's the Empire and the Jedis, it's all details that, at the end of the day, don't really matter. What matters is you have a hero rising, and his mentor and his friends defeating the evil force. And
the establishment.
And those are,
and it's very 70s of that movie. It's awesome.
And it's filled in with lore, but the prequels, man, that got so fucking...
It was all lore.
Trade Federation, which I don't care about. The Separatists, who the Trade Federation are somehow part of that. I don't know. They have droids. And they're fighting.
The clone thing on Camino got a little jumbled because now they're making clones of Jango Fett for some reason. Because he's a good assassin.
But then they retconned that too, where in the future the Stormtroopers aren't the clones anymore.
Right.
It just got way too political, and that's not what Star Wars is about. You could have had...
And you killed Qui-Gon, who was the strongest...
Absolutely.
Character. And then you had Ewan McGregor, by the way, great Obi-Wan. We discussed this before. Obi-Wan is awesome. Ewan McGregor did a great job, but and you killed Darth Maul, who you have to, I get it. But those were the 3 linchpins. You kill 2 of them, and all you have left is Obi-Wan and really whiny Anakin.
And Jar Jar. People make fun of Jar Jar, and I had forgotten because I hadn't sat through the original trilogy in probably 5 years, just because I had blocked it out, basically. Jar Jar came on the screen, I forgot. It wasn't just... He's not just the butt of a joke.
Yeah.
He is the worst part of that movie. He ruins that movie.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's not as big a part, especially in the third one. He's kind of like... They give him a couple scenes, and he's like the ambassador's assistant or some shit. But, yeah, that first one...
The second one's the worst. The second one is the absolute worst.
The third one's the closest I ever got to being like, okay,
the third one's passable. It's bad. It's not good because the dialogue is still fucking awful.
No, but the last fight scene's really awesome, and I think they did a really good job with that. And I think Obi-Wan and wrapping that all up was nice. I think if you only had the last 20 minutes of that, I think you're okay, and that would have been just fine. 20 minutes, make me a mini special, and never touch it again.
What I'm really excited about is the one thing that the prequels really got right is the lightsaber battles.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure in the new movie we're going to be bringing the really awesome lightsaber choreography into the original trilogy tone and ideas.
Looking forward to that.
And it's good. I hope the villain in the new one's good. Kylo Ren, they're calling him right now.
A lot of people are saying it's evil Luke, which is an extended universe thing. Could be. I don't think that's as interesting as having a brand new character who's taking artifacts from both sides and kind of being like, I don't think light or dark side is correct. I think a mix is interesting.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And before that movie comes out, we'll be talking about that a lot on Unpopular Culture, and we'll probably go through the trilogies.
Yeah, that'd be a good thing to do. We're going to do Avengers soon because that's coming out. Anyway, enough about Star Wars.
Charlie Hoffagan asks, or Hoffagan, or Hoffagan, Dear Hugo, what, if any, instruments do you play, and were you in band/orchestra in grade school? We mentioned this briefly in another episode, right?
Yes, I have played trumpet and tuba in high school, and I could still probably play a little bit of trumpet and tuba too. If I really needed to, I remember, but I'm way rusty. I haven't played in like 3 or 4 years, and I don't even own a trumpet anymore. So it would be hard, but I could maybe a little bit. I can read music a little bit.
I think one of the most sad things about my life is that I love music so much. I love it. I like all different kinds of it. Never learned how to play any instrument or had any. I still don't really have an interest in learning the discipline of an instrument, and it's weird to me because I love music a little too much. I listen to it too much, and I think learning an instrument would help me with that, but I have just no interest in it for some reason.
I've wanted to learn to play the piano for a long time.
Piano would be nice,
but I've never had the. Whenever I sit down to actually do it, I'm like, man, this is hard work. I love the idea of being able to play the piano, but I just do not have the drive.
I played that dun, 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 with my grandma growing up, but I don't remember like any of that. It was just fun though. And then she would play. She'd go she'd play the other side. It was fun. It was a good time. It's a nice memory. But I don't know. Maybe I'll be the acoustic guitar guy when I hit my 40s and I have my midlife crisis. Daniel G. Hey Hugo. If you could fully convert one influential Christian, who would it be? That is a good question. That is an interesting question.
It would definitely be one of the big televangelists who just have tons of viewers. Someone like Joel Osteen, who actually outreaches to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Have him come out and say, okay, I lost my faith, here's why, and actually ideally be able to have like an hour to explain to his audience.
I think you get booed
here's
off stage.
Why. I think so too, but it's an ideal.
Yeah.
And have him try and explain why and talk about the things that he's done and like, hey, just so you know, a lot of this has been for money. It's not cool of me. I'm gonna try and rectify that hopefully in the future.
Think that ever happened.
No. So someone like Joel Osteen or Joel Osteen himself, but you get what I mean. A big televangelist.
I think for me, it's less important that we would get a televangelist to do something like that. And maybe someone influential in other ways that it would matter. Maybe a sitting president, like while he's in office or she's in office. I guess.
They'd have to be a really, really well-liked president.
I would assume it would be second term anyways if they would do that. But it'd be like, hey, just so you guys know, these are my views on religion. I'm not an anti-theist or whatever. Like, I think you could politicize that correctly, and I think you could make a point like, see, it didn't really matter. Yeah. I did a good job for my 6 or so years. I got 2 more years left, or however they decided to do it. I think a sitting president would be my choice.
They'd get torn apart by, if it was like a Democrat, which I'd assume it would be, they'd get torn apart by the right and the current political climate.
Fine. I don't think Obama is that religious anyways.
No, I don't think so either, but I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't think I don't know, a lot of presidents were really that religious. The ones I do believe, though, are the Bushes, for sure. 92 Blim, asked Hugo. What a weird Blim. Sounds like a old-timey, not really old-timey, sounds like a mid-90s, like, space show. 92 Blim. Dear Hugo, if you could only choose one type of cuisine to eat for the rest of your life, what would you choose? Cuisine. I think labeling anything Hugo eats as cuisine is too nice. Certainly. Since you say cuisine and not just food, I'll say broadly Italian, because that's a lot of pasta, and I like me some carbs.
Do you like pasta?
I like pasta, and that would include pizza. And I'm talking like American Italian food, not like actual Italian.
What if it was one dish?
One dish, almost certainly pizza, because there's a lot of different kinds of pizza.
I get it. What if it was one pizza?
One pizza?
You'd have to, for survival purposes, it'd have to be supreme and you could pick it off. But assuming you would survive no matter what you ate.
I'm going to say a Jets pizza.
Ooh, Jets. If you don't have Jets, really
Jets
awesome.
Is probably a pretty local thing.
It's a Midwestern thing, yeah.
Regional. Jets pizza is pretty good pizza. I'd have a Jets pizza. Or maybe Pizza Hut pizza. They're all right.
Pizza Hut, it depends. It really, sometimes I'll get a really great one and sometimes it'll be like, this was Pizza Hut.
I'll tell you what kind of pizza I'm not going to get, and it's Little Caesars, because they always give me heartburn, and I hate it.
Every time.
So bad.
Terrible.
I mean, it's $5 for a whole pizza. I can't knock them for being economic. I get it. Sometimes I still buy it, even.
I rarely do. Like, maybe if you're doing a pizza party, I thought about it while I was doing my last teaching stint back last summer. Now it's almost been a year. But I thought about doing it, but I just looked at it. I was like, oh, that's.
I know it's like a McPizza. It's the fast food of pizza, which actually was a thing. McDonald's had pizza for a while in I think the 90s.
That didn't work.
And I think that is it.
That is it. I would eat Indian, by the way. Indian food is my cuisine.
Oh, you're gonna shit your fucking life out.
No, have you not had Indian before? It's amazing. It's not like American Indian food, which I assume induces shit because they have no money and we put them in little camps. But like Southern Asia Indian food out of the Punjab area, which is kind of the Pakistan-India border. Oh, butter chicken.
Anyway, thanks everyone. You can always check out our Teespring. Yes, we're doing a Teespring. I believe right now the Teespring is still going on.
Yeah, it goes through the 21st.
Yeah, totally. So as of the 15th, we're still doing our Teespring. Here's what the t-shirt looks like. It's borderless, so it's just our logo on a shirt. Looks very cool.
I actually bought one.
Yeah, I'm probably going to buy one too. If I haven't already by the time this comes out. And the shipping is cheaper than it used to be, actually. It's only like $3 domestically.
Yeah, and then so internationally it was closer to 20, and now it's only like 13 or 15, somewhere in there. So it's much friendlier. So if you are in the States, it's a $15 shirt plus like $3-4 shipping. I mean, you're getting for less than $20. So I mean, it's awesome, and plus it really helps the show because last time we bought a lot of stuff for the show. So
yeah,
cool.
You can always follow us on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
You can follow Hugo at Hugo Reloaded.
You can always follow Harold Penisman at Harold P. Penisman. If you don't know who that is, that's a longer story than I'm willing to tell right now.
Harold Penisman!
You can always subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and Patreon.
Yep, you can do the Patreon. That's
always Coolio. Like Coolio, like he did the theme song from Kenan and Kel. That guy.
I don't remember the song, but I remember Coolio being in it.
Yeah.
So that was the 90s. I think that's we can stop now.
Okay, that was the 90s, and this has been Ask Hugo number whatever.
I don't know.
Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jay! I don't know why you garbled.
Why does anyone garble?